stream. I'm like a few minutes late to the party, yes, but I'm here, and I have my assistant Teddy with me. Teddy says hi. Everybody's saying hi to you, Teddy. Say hi. Hello, hello, welcome, welcome. There's like a lot of music going on right now. Yesterday, I think they took a break yesterday because of they took a break yesterday because of, I don't know, maybe they just wanted to give their players a break. But I thought it was over, I thought they were done with the tournament. Turns out it was just a break. I don't know. We don't have any national holiday or public holiday that falls on September 1st. So um I guess I'll just their break for the players, which deserved. But now I have to start waking up at the crack of dawn with this their music selection. Anyways, let's not let it bother us. We are here in another stream on another lovely day, and today I'm actually pumped to meet you because today I was like, I want to try something different to get, and I wanted to try something with my intro. Do you get, like, so that we can just chill around, have fun before we get into our conversations. I hope today has a glitch-free run. I hope um, I hope we don't experience glitches like yesterday. The glitches took so much time out of my stream. I thought like we reached the 2 hour mark here, but those moments that the glitch interrupted were cut off out of the time. So it was like 1:56. So like up to a 4 minute glitch mark, which is just interesting to me. Hopefully that doesn't happen today. So I'm just going to wait, for people to join the stream. And hello, welcome to the stream. I'm so happy to see you. um yeah, today I wanted to do something new. And the more people join, then I'm going to like do the thing that I want to do today. I don't know, it's not such a big deal, yeah, but I decided that I wanted to read a few jokes to start off the stream to get. And I'm not a jokester, I'm not a comedian. I just found these jokes online, and they are jokes from it's a kind of comedy I appreciate, deeply appreciate, which is dad jokes, and I saw them online, so I just wanted to start off the stream with that. So I'm going to read the first joke. I hope you get it. I have it in my notes here. I asked my grandpa how he became a successful farmer after struggling for so many years. He said, well, it all started when I began keeping a tally of each of my cows. Seeing my puzzled face, he added, that was the catalyst. I think that was cool. I'm trying so hard not to laugh, but let's keep going. There's no takers from the crowd. Okay, maybe the next one will work on you. I was afraid the conductor only took the job so he could steal the train, but then I realized that would be a locomotive. Any takers? Did anybody like that? Let me read it. Let me read it again, just in case you did not hear. I was afraid the conductor only took the job so he could steal the train, but then I realized that would be a locomotive. Sorry, that would be a locomotive. How about that? No takers. Nothing. Okay. Too much pressure. Okay, let me try again. Um, had chips, candy, and soda in the back of my car for the party. You could say I had junk in the trunk. How about that? Come on, I tried now. You could say I had junk. Like, that was something now. No takers. No, nothing. And this is a channel that loves mathematics. So I'm going to say this joke. This mathematics joke. I have a mathematics joke I wanna tell you all, but I'm too square to say it. Everybody has left the stream because of my boring jokes. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep trying, okay? We have to crack this. And speaking of crack, why don't eggs tell jokes? They might crack up. Oh, that is so good. That is so good. That was so good. Like, you have to agree, that was fair. Don't worry. I'll do my research properly and I'll come back. But for the final entry, why don't skeletons fight each other? Any guesses? Any guesses? Let me wait. Why don't skeletons fight each other? Okay. I'm sure that is very, very. Let me give you the answer. They don't have the guts. How about that? How about that? You have two people. Everybody left the stream. Oh my god. Okay, so this is how people take dad jokes. This is how bad it is in the comedic sphere for dad jokes. Like, I didn't know people hated dad jokes this much. Like, to me, I don't have a problem with dad jokes, to be honest. I like them so much. Oh, and sometimes they I don't know, I like them, okay, and I'll keep saying them on this stream. Like, every stream now I'm going to start it off with at least one dad joke. We have to appreciate a new form, like, not a new, but we have to appreciate comedy wherever we see it now, Abby. I think that's fair. But I think it's hilarious that after telling like two of my dad jokes, people left the stream. Like, tons of people left the stream, and they're like, it can't be that. Like, you guys can't hate it. That has to be like, maybe there's something in my delivery that is not, that is not hitting the mark. Maybe I should not say it with so much like energy. Maybe I should just, affect the drier tone of speaking and all of that, so that people will have space to process it's not my jokes. I took them from Google. So that people have space to process the fun of a dry joke. Like, come on now, let's laugh a little. Let's laugh a little. They cracked me up. That's why I wrote them down. So, but I'll keep trying. I won't give up in this part. Yeah. Then more people have left. Enough of the dry jokes conversation. Fine. I'll stop the dry jokes. Today actually, we want to talk about poetry, okay? And I'm just going to give it a little bit of time, let more people join. And wait, I titled this stream poetry. Could it be that people thought maybe my jokes were the poetry I was trying to bring up? No, no, please. Let me correct it now. That's not poetry, okay? That was just an intro, please. Oh. But I'm just going to give you time, for more people to join the stream. Then we'll start talking about poetry. I like this notepad aesthetic. Like, when you have a notepad, you take everywhere with you, and you can just like jot down your thoughts and inspirations. I use this notepad to. Hello, Emmanuel. Welcome to my stream. Today we're going to be discussing poetry, and I have made notes about the particular poet that we're going to talk about. There's this interesting aspect of his personality, that was recorded in his history, and I feel like it will help us to understand his works, and like why, not why, but like, because you can't fully understand a person's intentions and motives, but you can study them to get an understanding, okay? But to help us understand a little bit of his writing, last week we went through some of his poems that were ballads, and then we got to this chapter that was titled The Rose. And this chapter was dedicated to a man called Lionel Johnson. and it was stories about, rose, 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 like several poems about the rose. Then we started reading poems about um I started reading poems about druids, magical, mystical beings. I started reading poems about mythical legends, of his country and his native hometown and all of that. So I felt a bit confused because of the whole rose, symbolism and all of that. And I was like, is this specific? Is this pointed? Was there a point to this, like, or was it just like a simple inspiration, coming out of a writer's mind? And looking up his history now, I see a particular discussion about this rose itself. So the rose is not just any rose. The rose is a symbolical, like it's a symbolism of something they call the golden dawn. And the rose had particular meanings for Yeats, who is who we are talking about, because of its place in Rosie's crucian. That means the rose plus cross symbolism. So, and I didn't really check that part up. I just wanted to point it out since we've already like read like some of his poetry on the rose, and because this chapter that we are currently on is titled Rose. Um, but before I go too far, is Emmanuel still in the chat? Hello, Emmanuel. How are you? Where are you streaming from? Um, yeah, I just want to know about you as more people join the chat, because I want to read out his history and all of that while then we continue with the poem. But I want to do it when like more people join so that we can have a fun discussion mostly about his history. So welcome to the stream. Feel free to say hi. Feel free to share any tidbit about your day. Let's just have a little bit of intro chat before we get into the main, the crux of our stream today, which is poetry and poets. Hello, hello. Where are you streaming, or where are you watching me from? Welcome to my stream. I hope you have a good time, at least, no matter how long. I hope you have a good time here. Oh, I didn't even introduce myself. My name is King. My name is King, and I am streaming from Nigeria. Yeah, and I do a lot of reading, literature. I do some mathematics. Yesterday we had a whole math section that we were just like working on math problem, but it was not just any random math problem. Like I focused my attention on a specific topic, and then I just did it for the stream, and it was fun. It was fun. I think people enjoyed it. Today we're going to do poetry. And I think later in the week we're still going to do story. Like we're going to do stories, as in reading books. Yeah. So anything that leads to conversations about art forms, even paintings too. I have this book of paintings that one day I'm just going to dedicate it to talking about the works on there, just to explore it. I'm coming on, let me write something down. Just excuse the interruption. Now we're back. So this is a channel that we're going to do a lot of those kind of stuff, yeah. Reading. I don't know how I'm going to introduce writing though, but for now, reading, working with our hands, mathematics, and sometimes I do a little bit of knitting on stream, you know, all of that, just being creative and crafty in any way possible or any way available. And I encourage everyone that is coming to the stream to participate in any way they can. In this section, in today's stream, obviously we're going to be looking at new words. Like we're going to take notes of vocabulary, new words that we learn as we read, because obviously we don't know everything. Like you can't know everything. And then when you're reading poetry from a very old time in history, the English is not going to be the same as our modern English. Like this poem is set in, I think he started writing at in 18 something something, you get. And that period, the way they spoke, you know this poet is from Ireland. Okay, so Ireland already has its own English. Okay, then imagine somebody like speaking the English of old plus their Irish inflections and dialects and all of that. So we need to add to it. Hello, Magical Art. Welcome to the stream. Where are you streaming from? Thank you for stopping by. I hope you stay, join the community, subscribe, like, comment. Let's have fun here today. And obviously, we're going to get to poetry. Okay. Hello, Raji. Welcome to the stream. I was waiting for everybody to come before we start our poetry session. And for those people that have been here from the beginning, um, I was talking about how we are going to go into the author of today, Yeats, as usual. We're going to first of all go back to his history, because I noticed the last time we were reading, there are a lot of things that were showing up in his writing that I feel could be traced back to his motivations, his intent, his life, the way he lived his life. And I wanted to check it out, and like draw it out in the chat, in the stream, so that maybe we can get some sort of sense from the poems that we read of his. And one thing I didn't bring up last week, or even when I started reading poetry from this collection, this is the collection I'm reading from. um this is a collection of all his works, and it's divided into two. There's the lyrical section, and then there's the dramatic section. And one thing about Yeats is that now that I read through his history, Yeats also wrote prose. He wrote stories and books. He has a whole book, in fact. I don't know, I don't think that book is here, but we'll get to a point in history that brought about that book. So we're going to talk about it properly. I'm just waiting like for all of us to like settle in and be comfortable. Yeah. So Magical Art says hello, Magical Art. Hello, Emmanuel, and hello, Raji. Thank you for joining the stream. I didn't bring my dictionary along, but let's keep going. Once we are done with the history, I'll get my dictionary, and then we can read, poetry of today for our stream. Something interesting I want to tell people that just join the stream is that I started off the stream with telling of some kind of jokes. I started the stream off by telling a few dad jokes, a few dry jokes, and everybody left after listening to me. Everybody left. It was so funny because it's like I love dry jokes. I love dad jokes. I don't know why. I feel like hating dad jokes is not, should give it a chance sometimes. But anyways, I plan to always start my stream with those jokes. Okay, so now we've gotten to the time mark I intended to start, and we'll start. The book gives us, this history of him, like an introduction to Yeats, actually. And I'm going to read it out so that we can start off. William Butler Yeats was born in 1865, the son of a painter, John Butler Yeats, and of Susan Mary Pollux Finn. His brother Jack was also to become a renowned painter, and Yeats himself studied painting once he had finished his unhappy school days in London and Dublin. The family moved between the two places, and the Yeats children often spent their holidays with their maternal grandmother in Sligo, whose landscape, with the curiously formed shape of Ben Bulben, became literally and symbolically Yeats' country of the heart. It was at art school in Dublin that Yeats, along with his friend George Russell, first became interested in various aspects of occult belief. Um, yeah, he had inherited his father's rational atheism but was drawn to ideas of hierarchy, magic, hidden ancient wisdom. For the rest of his life, he explored these mysteries, at first in psychic research and spiritualism, and among secret societies, later among Hermetic philosophies. By now, he had started writing poetry and in 1885 gave up art to devote himself to writing. Many of Yeats' early poems are diffused with a delicate pre-Raphaelite melancholy. So, Raphaelite refers to an era of art. I don't have any examples that come to mind right now, but maybe we'll explore it next time. But you can also look it up, Raphaelite era of art. Maybe it's even in our dictionary too. Let's give it a chance. What a critic called his pearl pale style, which brings a certain languor to the Irish legends he often treated, to the great heroes of Cuchulainn or Fergus. Now, people that were here last week will know we read a poem about Cuchulainn, and we even found. I'm so sorry, my network has glitched. Oh, if you're hearing the noise, it's these people that are playing football. They are playing football and they're holding a tournament, and it's been going on since I started streaming. So, and they're here till like several hours in the day. So I'm sorry if the noise is affecting. I'm going to try to read louder. Sorry about that. I was talking about mentions of Cuchulainn and Fergus, which we already read about in a poem from last week. For by now, the young poet was involved with Irish nationalism and sought to establish a characteristically Irish culture. There should, he wrote, be a pride in that national heritage that should lead to a new flowering of art and national life. Among all his poems, even the later ones, there are ballads evoking or playing on the folk forms he admired. The earliest is Down by the Sally Gardens, familiar from its eloquent song setting. His identification with the Irish cause was given added intensity by his passionate and unrequited love for the beautiful revolutionary Maud Gonne. Maud Gonne was a nationalist, an Irish nationalist. So she was a public figure. She had come to Yeats London house in 1889 when the poet was 24, and her presence haunts the man and his poetry for the rest of his life. She is the Helen of No Second Troy, the leading body bent above a sinking fire in among school children. That is a poem he wrote based off of her. The one, it may be, a queen of presences, she is his phoenix and the goddess-like creature, so noble from head to great shapely knees. In a thought for Propertius, that is one of the poems he wrote again about her. And his love and its pain make for one of the great persistent themes of his poetry henceforth. Another, naturally, is Ireland. That is one of the things that added intensity to his writing. The fascination of what's difficult. His aims were very different from those of Maud Gonne. She was bent on home rule for Ireland, while Yeats had always seen good qualities in the Protestant ascendancy. That means Yeats did not have a problem with the English, you know, the English form of rule. Like in Yeats' time, the UK was made up of Great Britain and Ireland, and the people from Ireland eventually, broke out from the UK, and I think they're still, I think North Ireland is still trying to complete their republic status present day. I think the great reunification of Ireland. So I think one was able to break out successfully, but North Ireland is still connected to Britain. I don't know if I'm accurate about that, but it started since Yeats' time. And Modgon was one of those people that spoke that Ireland as a whole should be removed, from from under the rule of the British, sorry. But Yeats was on the other side. He did not see any problem with Protestant ascendancy. Remember, I went to school in London, so he probably formed some kind of relationships, and kind of saw the perspective of the English. You get, the English is different from the Irish. They are different from the Irish. Irish people are not English. Going ahead, and now he met one of its great personalities, Augusta Gregory, a spirited and philanthropic widow who was to become, yeah, as he said, mother, friend, sister, and brother. Together, they worked to found the Abbey Theatre, Dublin, where some of his first plays were performed. Oh, he also wrote plays. Work that came to seem unrewarded and unappreciated. Her labours made her ill, while derision, and in case of Synge's, that's the title of the play now, the Playboy of the Western World, rioting. Sorry, the Playboy of the Western World. So the things that she put out, the works that she put out were met with derision and rioting. The 2 decades from 1890 to 1910 left Yeats exhausted and embittered. He was no nearer to winning Mudgone, and his one other love affair, expressed in the love poem of The Wind Among the Reeds, had ended when the woman perceived that his true allegiance lay elsewhere. So his unrequited love, you know, affair with Maud was known. Everybody in the country knew it. In fact, everybody that knew him knew that he was in love with Maud, and Maud obviously does not want to be, did not want to be, his lover. She did not feel the same for him, actually. Moving on. Many of the poems in the Green Helmet shows anger, bitterness, even despair at the pettiness and grudginess of Irish politics. So you see that he has a sort of resentment for the Irish politics, like at this age he was at, like he kind of resented Irish politics. And it will kind of make sense, because if the person he's in love with is in love with a different thing, which is her cause of, freeing Ireland, home rule for Ireland, he's going to be a bit vexed, like angry at the thing that is having all of her heart, all of her attention. So I feel like I'm just making some kind of inference from what I've read so far. It is in this collection. There's a collection also. The collection is also in this book, The Green Helmet. It is in this collection that Yeats' distinctive later voice starts to be heard, abandoning the bardic poeticisms of his Celtic twilight. That is another collection. He started to forge a sinewy, colloquial, yet lyrical style, which sounds even more surely in the next collection, Responsibilities. That was in year 1914. You have to know that 1914 was the beginning of the Great War, or World War One. Here he asks his forefathers, pardon that for a barren passion's sake, I have no child, I have nothing but a book. Those are quotes from the poem. The anger and disillusion remain, but a new direction appears in the Magi. Now, take note of this name, the Magi. So I'm reading an excerpt from this poem. Now, as at all times, I can see in the mind's eye, in the stiff painted clothes, the pale unsatisfied ones appear and disappear in the blue depths of the sky, with all their ancient faces like rain-beaten stones, and all their helms of silver hovering side by side. and all their eyes fixed, hoping to find one small, being by Calvary's turbulence unsatisfied, the uncontrollable mystery on the bestial floor. So, I want to read it again. Now, as at all times, I can see in the mind's eye, in the stiff painted clothes, the pale unsatisfied ones appear and disappear in the blue depths of the sky, with all their ancient faces like rain-beaten stones, and all their helms of silver hovering side by side, and all their eyes fixed, hoping to find once more, being by Calvary's turbulence unsatisfied, the uncontrollable mystery on the bestial floor. And the narration goes on. This strange poem is followed by The Dolls, another poem in which the dolls claim more rights to life than the doll maker's newborn baby, where created things have a life which is perhaps more resonant, certainly more lasting than the natural life of generation. Yeats is moving towards a set of images in which mysteries, artifacts, and masks take on a vibrant personal meaning. He had already used other personae, especially Owen Ahern, so now, and Michael Robert. So now I'm going to break away from this reading so that we can explore this aspect. So this paragraph started off with saying the anger and disillusionment remain, but a new direction appears in the Magi. So now, at this point in Yeats' life, he has created personas to live by, personas to identify as, and those personas appear as characters in his works, and it's as if he's talking to, or these people are real people, but they're actually facets of his personality. And I'll go into the history now of those personas. Those personas are the plural, I guess. So two names are mentioned here: Michael Roberts and Owen Ahern. I don't know if you are following so far. Let me let me take a short pause to ask if there's any clunkiness to my reading, or if there's something that you want to contribute, to what we've said so far. If you're even familiar with Yeats at all, if you want to, if you've heard of him before, if you've studied or dabbled in poetry before, if you are a writer yourself, like, I want to hear your opinions and thoughts about Yeats before we go on to this history. Does anyone does any of the people in the stream right now, do you guys write poems? Have you written anything? Do you enjoy writing? I started searching for poetry books, poetry collections, and just writing textbooks because I wanted to, write, but I didn't know how to start. I didn't know where to start. So I was like, let me just read, other great works and see if I can get some sort of guidance. And for me, Yeats has always been referenced in almost like several books I've read growing up, like several novels, a lot of, and even movies. There's several references to Yeats, and of course there should be, because he's so well known. Like, I think he's described as one of the greatest, writers of poetry in the English language. So that is something. I wasn't that very much aware of him. So I was very happy to find this book in a secondhand bookstore. And I started reading it. Okay, so going into the history now, we're talking about Michael Roberts and Owen Ahern. Two masks Yeats created and wore to reflect the two sides inside of him. They were contradictory aspects of his character. There was the Western, those two contradictory parts are the Western and the Eastern part. And the Western represents orthodoxy, Christianity, and Eastern part represents heterodoxy. That is mysticism, myth, Druidism, Celtic culture. And when I say Celtic culture, Celtics are Irish is Irish mythology, or they are based in Irish mythology. They are from Ireland. They originated from Ireland, and all of that. So the Western aspect of this mask represents his Christian faith, which still struggles to find its own identity in Yeats' deep personality. Now, remember that we read that he was raised in his father's rational atheism, so his parents were not religious at all. In fact, they were atheists. So where did this um, desire for a belief in the Christian faith come from? You get, wherever it will come from, it will create a struggle within him. Someone that was raised as an atheist. And then the latter, that's the Eastern heterodoxy aspect of the mask, was Yeats' Celtic inherited culture, particularly Druidism, which had branched out to absorb Eastern religion and mystical realms. When they say Eastern in this time, you are leaning towards what? China, Asian, like Asian religiosity. Asian mysticism. And there's a poem in here that is also directed towards Indian, that has an Indian, it's just Indian. Okay, he wrote it based off of Indian mystics and all of that. Yeah, so it's not even China to be specific. I think it's more Indian. And Indians have a lot of gods. They have a lot of worshippers. They have a lot of religious culture, and they are the ones that do this whole thing about, like, what do you call it, this self, what is the word for it? So Indians are very yoga, basically. Yoga, not this westernized and palatized sort of Hollywood rebranding. I mean, like, yoga in the true sense, with the origins of yoga, where it's coming from, it's India. Yeah, so that sort of mysticism is where his heterodox Eastern mask originated from. The struggle between these two elements, there's the Eastern mask. The struggle between these two elements found its way into Yeats' creativity and imagination, and helped him invent two fictitious and symbolic characters, namely Owen and Hen. So Owen and Hen represent his orthodox side, the Christian faith, and Michael Robarts represents his heterodox side, the Eastern mysticism. So now remember that this paragraph starts with a poem called the Magi. That is where that poem I just read came from. So the Magi is actually Michael Robarts. So a Magi is somebody that practices magic, that creates and works with magic, with the dark art. And when they say occult, it's not joking. No. He Yeats deeply identified with the occult, but it was not the only thing I identified with. So there was a conflict, and this conflict gives rise to questions. Questions like, one, to what extent did Yeats promote the struggle between Ahen and Robert to reveal his own crisis of belonging? Because if you are somebody that you an atheist, you were raised as an atheist, and then you start to find like meaning, but you also find something that is totally antithetical to the Christian faith, which is the occult. You understand? Those two things. And religion or belief systems are the ways human beings find identity, human beings find belonging. You get? So the question goes, to what extent did Yeats promote this struggle between Ahen and Robert to reveal his own crisis of belonging? Most people say they do art to find meaning, to give words to things that don't actually have words, things that they struggle with, that they cannot put into rational conversations. They have to express it through art, and yet did that through his writing. But we have to ask ourselves, to what extent did that happen? To what extent did this writing reveal the crisis of belonging? So that means when we are reading his works, we are not just we can't just read it to understand what he's just saying on the surface. We have to read it, considering this background of the crisis of belonging. And obviously this happened in his later years. I think that was from 1914. So at 1914, what age was he? We have to consider that. So this early chapters we are in, I don't think he was facing, like, he could put words to that crisis of belonging in his work. I don't think it expressed so much through his works at this period. But when we get on to later point, we have to always pay attention to that. Even now, there might be inklings of those struggles. So the next question that these two sides we have to ask about it is, to what extent did Yeats control the two sides of his own psyche to fulfill his own creative and political goals. So there are several parts to this question. To what extent did Yeats control two sides of his psyche? So like there is this assumption that Yeats was in control of them. After all, he created them. Okay, he's the creator of those two masks. Okay, he gave them life in personas. That is Michael Robert and Owen Ahen. So to what extent, but we don't know obviously because I've not finished reading the collection yet. But if anybody has history with reading it or has any contribution, you can chip in. I would love to hear your opinions about it. That's the first aspect of the question. To what extent did they control the two sides of the psyche? And when you talk about this whole thing of two sides of the psyche, some people will be thinking about a this kind of Hyde Dr. Hyde and no Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Like those two, that man with the famous split personality kind of disorder where he was a doctor by day and by night he was this ruffian or something like that. I don't really know the particulars of that story, but I've heard of it. I've seen so many movie iterations of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Am I correct? So those two things, like, I don't think that was what Yates was feeling in his own was going through in his own case. I think like he had a level of control over these two personas he created. He had a level of control, you get, and it's not like those things took over him. I think he just kind of was able to be a spectator in the sense that he can look at these two aspects of his being without denying one for the other, or repressing one for the other. He existed with these two present, in his personality, in his identity, and he kept on, shaping them. I feel through his works. But we have to ask the question that how did he control them to fulfill his creative and political goals? So you have to ask yourself, what were his creative goals and what were his political goals? Obviously, we know he doesn't mind what they say, Protestant ascendancy. Okay, so I feel like in his works he might try to sort of preach this idea that, as Irish people, we don't need to always fight the British. We can accept some of what they are doing. After all, it's not as if they mean to obliterate us. Like sometimes let's just accept, like we can observe, like live under their rule. I feel like that's the question, like how did he use these personas to influence people getting this message, you understand, to influence people getting this message that he like message from like this idea of his own politics, you get, like my own politics now, like whatever I'm writing. That's another cool thing about writing. Before we go into the creative aspect, that's another cool thing about writing is that, or doing art, is that the things you believe, show up in the works that you do. So and that is why sometimes it is how people say, can you separate the art from the artist? It's kind of hard for me. I don't think I can separate art from the artist, because I believe art is not something that you just isolate and say, oh, I've just milked out my art and I've kept it in a bottle to sell or to present to people. It's coming from somewhere. Where did you milk it from? It represents a bit of you. Okay, for me, that's my own. I can't separate art from the artist. And people always say separate art from the artist, and say they can when it comes to something controversial, something that is not pleasant, something that is unethical, and they're like, at least I can separate the art from the artist. But like when you want to enjoy good art from somebody that is ethical, that presents morally right positions, you don't say things like, I can separate art from the artist, because it just adds to the enjoyment of what you are seeing from this person. Okay, so what are you missing? What do you think you are cutting yourself off from if you separate an art from its artist? Does that make any sense? I don't know if that makes any sense, but I feel like we have to now, also when we are reading his works, we have to now start looking deeply for the ways he tried to point out, accept British rule and all of that. Again, we have to see it, and like what were his goals, his own political goals, okay, that people that enjoyed his works could be convinced into accepting as well. We have to consider that I have to consider that. And all of it is not separate from enjoying a poet's work, from understanding a poet. But also, he was also a bit of an Irish nationalist. Okay, most of the intensity of his work, as we've seen, in his biography, autobiography, is an autobiography written by the person or by another person. That's like my left and right issue. But um, in the history we are given, the introduction we are given here, it adds to the intensity of his work, his Irish nationalism. And so far, the earliest work we have been like that's we're just starting the book here. So most of his early works, um, we can see a lot of call to Celtic, Celtic history, Celtic myth. You can see druids present in his work. We can see woodland creatures. We can see talk of the moon, rabbits on the moon, rabbits of love. Oh, so cool, so cool, so cool. So, yeah, that's what I said. Then, what were his creative goals? What did he hope to, being recognized at this point in his life as a great poet? Like, what other goals do you think he would want to present? Like what other goals would he have for his work? I think as artists, because I know so many artists, I think there's something that used to do artists. This is not a job, but like there's actually something in the brains of artists, especially the ones that are very, very enmeshed with their works. There's something in their head. You see an artist work and you're like, wow, this is just perfect, and they're like, on to the next one, on to the next one, and it's not on to the next one like this capitalist machine of welling the greedy overload. No, it's not that. It's just this need to keep on creating. Like they have to keep on creating. I think there's this thing that if an artist when an artist stop creating, they die. Okay, so it's like even at this point in Yeats' life, I don't know how old he is, I've not calculated it, but he still had goals. Okay, all of the recognition, all of the respect and all of it that came with his position as this poet or whatever, or the position that society gave to him, writing all of these beautiful works. He still had goals to meet. That was not the end. Okay, that was not the end. Like he cannot literally stop. So, and it's like creating this two mask at this point in his life, where the writer of this introduction says, calls it like a strange poem, calls it like a new direction. Okay, like you never stop evolving as an artist. You never stop evolving. That's the word. I think that's the word. You never stop evolving as an artist, no matter what form of art you do. Like you, and it's not something um that is put upon you, that because they say artists don't stop evolving, so me too, I should start trying to not stop evolving, or I should start trying to not stop evolving. No, it's something that comes natural, I think, with being an artist. Personally, that's what I feel. So the question back again is like, to what extent did Yeats control the two sides of the psyche to fulfill his own creative and potent and political goals? So I feel me, I don't have a background in poetry or literature, a formal background or whatever, but I don't know if I can try to pay attention, like the type of attention I'll need to pay to his work to, kind of notice these changes, notice this new direction, notice this goals that, because definitely I feel like he was reaching some of those goals. Because the introduction continues on. But before we go back to the narration of his biography, of his history, we have to continue with the questions of this, for why, we have to continue questioning these two masks of his psyche. Now the next question is, did these two aspects of Yeats' character satisfy his philosophical, religious, and mystical quests, and thus substantiate his views? This question is very meaty. What what was Yeats' philosophical view on life? What was his religious view? What were his mystical quests? And did these two personas contribute in any way, to solidifying those views? So far, I've not read so much on him, his in-depth, stories and stories of his life. I mean, like his history to recognize his philosophy. Okay, I haven't read that much, but I think it will be made obvious in his writing, in his poetry. So I have to pay attention as well to, let me mark it now. Pay attention to his philosophy. Okay, pay attention to his philosophy. Pay attention to his religious view and the mystical quest. Already we can see so much of his mystical quest present here. So I feel like maybe his religious side came up in his later years, because we're in the early section of the book, the early section of his writing, so we might not really notice the religiosity of, like, in his works just yet. Maybe to show up later in later poems. And then we have to now pay attention to how those things, all of it, substantiates his views, like how this persona, how did Owen in his adventures, because obviously this persona will definitely be characters that are doing something in his writing, characters that are living full lives. I read a little bit of Owen and Michael, and it was intense. Like, it was a lot. I could not just copy them onto my notepad. I feel like maybe I could use my laptop someday to like go through Owen and Michael's exploits. Like, they were operating on a system. They had a system, and in that system there were rules. Like, it was like a whole world. Okay, a system. I think that's the name of the section, a system. So like they had this whole world. They were doing things in that instance. You're not looking at just it. You're looking at different aspects of his persona. And it was interesting to me to read, but I could not digest it all to, like, make notes, and I would have to use um a long time, dedicate a long part of my week or my day to do that. So or just like kind of read off of the notes that are online. Okay, because these questions too, I took them from a study, but that study I don't have access to the study because it's behind a paywall. You have to pay for it in euros or whatever, and I could not. So the final question is, how did the creative struggle between Ahern and Robert, this noise is too much, Abby. I don't know how to. How did the creative struggle between Ahern and Robert help define Yeats' own spiritual reality and ambitions? How did the creative struggle between Ahern and Robert help define Yeats' own spiritual reality and ambition? So I feel like there's an expectation of cohesion between Ahern and Robert. Like, final, like, he's supposed to head towards cohesion, yeah. Like, they should not be in conflict with each other, for the rest of his life. So I think it's right. I was trying to ask the question, like, how did they come together to help him achieve his ambitions, his spiritual reality? What became of his reality? Was he very colored towards the occult, or was he, from his religious angle, was he saying that, oh, I can exist side by side with the occult, I don't need to make them be, or I can enjoy the result of their contradiction, without denying the other, without denying either of their validity in my mind, you get? Because at the end of the day, the occult is not valid to everybody. The occult was valid to him, yet, and because it was valid to him, it created his outlook on the world. And then Christian faith became valid to him as well, and it also colored the way his perspective on the world was. So now the question is now, did they come into cohesion, in a way that and then what did that cohesion result in, or did he have any ambitions towards their cohesion that would allow his writing to change again, to evolve, to become something like, when they say ambitions here, obviously he has ambitions towards, creating more and more and more and more, and writing more and more. I don't know how to lock this door so that the noise will be less. I don't know if the noise is too much. Like, just just allow me. This country just thrives on noise. Like, it's just abnormal. Why? Like, why? At this point in time, it's just pissing me off so bad. Like, Anyways, those are the questions for us to always put in mind, which I'll keep on reminding us if I notice anything in his writing. And the thing I just say, oh, if I notice, this is about Yeats writing is that it is very clunky. There are a lot of words, languages, phrases, like style of writing that is, this style of writing is so, you know, and it's doing me like, I feel a bit daunted by it. Like, can I, will I ever be able to make something of, this work? Will I ever be able to make meaning of this work? And, I don't want to, that is my own goal, to sort of come to the point where I can make meaning of this poets that I like, um, you know. And then I'm even reminded of this idea of separating the art from the artist. When it comes to Yeats, yeah, something I read in Yeats' history was this whole thing about not minding the British rule. Kind of disappointed me when I first saw it because I thought it was a sort of revolutionary, mostly because he was so much of a nationalist in the early works I was reading, before now. And I was like, oh, this man is going to be somebody that pushes for Ireland to be free, to be a republic, and all of that. And for me to see that he was more lukewarm about it, did not care. And now there's the expression of grudge, bitterness, anger, and pettiness of Irish politics. Is like, bro, what was the problem, So, like I said, I cannot separate the art from the artist. So most of the time when I read his work, is now I don't read it as somebody that is, a revolutionary. I don't read it as somebody that is trying. I just read it as someone that is very in his own reality, in his own life, in his own the way his world works. You get, I feel like he's very, very caught up in his feelings, and most of all of it is just expressed through his art, you know. It's beautiful art, it's beautiful writing, but yeah, it doesn't though it doesn't reduce my desire to make an understanding out of it, like to get a sort of level of what do you call this thing, literacy. Yes, you got a level of literacy, for his poems. I want to be literate in his poetry. So I am going to, focus, like, continue to explore his works. So that was just um, something I needed to bring out here, so that when we're reading his history, we'll not be too caught like, what are all these names? What are all these names? Like, at least what Owen and Michael, where they come from now. Okay. So continuing from there, and certainly there's something that was in his history that he even tried dabbling in fascism, but eventually it did not stick with him, and it was just like, are you serious right now? But then again, he's a white man. He was a white man, so they are like the highest form of privilege in this type of society that they set up. So they can do explorations in anything without a real consequence in that sense. So, but him, he just he dumped it. He wasn't didn't care for it. But he explored it. He knew what it was and he explored it, but he eventually dumped it. He didn't like it. So, anyways, going on. So that's how I'm talking about Owen and Michael existing in their own world. This introduction keeps on going to tell us, and certainly one of the charms of his poetry is the way it places him, his friends, and they are doing on an epic stage. And I feel like the friends he's talking about is Michael and Owens. Now, his occult and magical preoccupations contribute to a highly wrought diction which imparts distance, luminousness, and a prophetic or priestly tone. So, just hold on for a bit. Let me get my dictionary so I will know what the word luminousness is. I wanted to check it earlier, but I forgot. I'm coming. Sorry, I'm back. So let's check for the meaning of the word luminousness. Okay, numinous. Of or pertaining to a numen, supernatural. Second meaning, spiritually elevated, holy. And third meaning, impossible to describe or understand, mysterious. Yeah, so what were we saying? We're saying that his occult and magical preoccupations contribute to a highly wrought diction, which impacts distance, luminousness, that's mystery, and a prophetic or priestly tone. Tracks. The Great War of 1914 to 1918 impinged little on his poems of the time, though in the 1919 collection, The Wild Swans at Cool, whose title poem is one of Yeats' most beautiful and accessible works, there are two poems on the death of Robert Gregory, his loved patron's only son. Remember that patron we talked about, Augusta Gregory? She was a widow, a philanthropist, I think. She was his mother, friend, sister, and brother. So she lost her son in the war. So he dedicated one of his poems to her, titled An Irish Airman Foresees His Death." A little excerpt of that poem goes, "Those that I fight, I do not hate. Those that I guard, I do not love. A lonely impulse of delight drove to this tumult in the clouds. Those that I fight, I do not hate, and those I guard, I do not love." Another thing that you have to notice, that him saying, "Those I fight, I do not hate." The Great War, like, who were the countries that were at war? I think they were conscripted to fight which countries? Maybe Ireland was even fighting Britain at that point in history. But he says, those that I fight, I do not hate. So you can see a little bit of his political bias in there. And those that I guard, I do not love. Obviously, he's going to feel resentful of Irish politics. Irish politics has taken a loved one away from him. Like in the fight for Irish politics, a loved one has gone. So a lot of resentment in there. Then the woman that he loves and is always begging, the woman is involved in fighting for Irish politics. So you can see a lot of, like, background. But going on, in 1917, he had proposed to Maud Gonne in a last desperate throw, and when she predictably refused him once again, he turned to her beautiful daughter Iseult. Questionable, wrong, weird, very weird, but let's keep going. Iseult appears in his poems too, especially in this collection. She is the young girl in the poem of that name, and another of the delicately haunting presences among the dramatis persona. So there is a collection of poems, or a section of the book, that is titled, this door was open again, Dramatis Personae. Maud too continues to haunt his poem, but soon after this double rejection, so that means mother and daughter rejected him, he proposed to and was accepted by Georgie Hyde, Liz. They married in November. This was another big arc of his life. He's married to this woman. Married to this courageous and remarkable young woman, Yeats was 52. I released, married to this courageous and remarkable young woman, released the poet into his powerful late work. 3 days after their marriage, he found that she had a gift of automatic writing. Now, a little bit on automatic writing. This is when somebody claims to be possessed by an higher power, like a higher power, and then starts to scribble what the power is telling them in their ear. So now the story goes, in the history, was that the way he was so depressed, obviously after being rejected by his great love and the daughter of his great love, at 53, um she told him that she lied to him at first that, oh, I have this gift of automatic writing. Now this is somebody that's obsessed with what occult magic, darkness, all those spiritual supernatural stuff, and his wife is not telling him, oh, I hear from powers or spiritual powers, and they help me to, like, they tell me things and I take them down, like out of, like, it's out of my control. I don't control this thing. So so she said that thing just to make him get out of brooding, for his lost love, and she now, like, they now set out a time in the day to do it. And when she now wanted to write, you made the right decision leaving your lost love. That's what she was wanted to write. She wanted to just pretend for him. But she says that when she started, focusing and meditating, that a real higher power came upon her, and she did not even, like, she really was, like, the automatic writing thing happened to her for real, for real. Like, she did not even expect it to happen, but it did. So, and it's not like it was legible, it was like scrolling, they had to spend time, two of them, deciphering what she had written in her automatic state, in her possessed state. Yes. So this woman's writing actually influenced his works. Like, I think he kind of inspired him, most, like, they would dedicate time in the day, and they would say maybe 2 o'clock today, every day would wait for you to be possessed by the power and listen to what they have to say. You write what they have to say. So she would do that, and then he would read it, and then he would put it in his work, or he would shape his work around it. There are so many of his works in this later period of his life that were literally written by her. He just transcribed it, but she said, because she loves her husband so much, she said, no, that they should not write it in her name. They should not say she's the one that wrote it. They should not put it in her name. They should copyright it to under her husband's name, that she loves him so much, so she's giving him all of it. But there are some that he did not agree. He put her name, as the author of the work. So it was actually interesting to see that, like, to read that. So, but the narration goes on to say, fascinated and naturally convinced, of course, Yeats had maintained his interest in the occult and hermetic, and had earlier initiated Georgie into his Order of the Golden Dawn. So the Order of the Golden Dawn is probably like his own occult society that he created. Anyways, he encouraged her and incorporated her immense body of writing into his extraordinary prose document, A Vision. So that A Vision is a book I want to actually read. It's a prose separate from all of his works, and I think it's like, it's a prose, yeah. It's a prose, it's a story. Here, as in the book A Vision, here he achieves a convincing synthesis of his occult beliefs, of which the only one the reader really needs is a theory of vast repeating cycles in human history. That means reincarnation, the gyres and the perns of which pervade his later poetry. It is this theory which inspires the Second Coming in his 1921 collection, and this is an excerpt from there. Now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. And what rough beasts its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. Now, we're talking about, he's naming this collection the Second Coming. What does that tell you? Like, okay, if you're not familiar with Christian faith, second coming is literally the rapture. That Christians in real life are waiting for Jesus to come on a riding horse and take his people to heaven while he destroys the world. Okay, so now when we read this poem, you can see this excerpt, you can hear things of that, yeah, but he's talking about it in a form of his own occult more. So you can see, kind like, I feel like we notice the cohesion of his orthodoxy and his heterodoxy, like his Western and Eastern beliefs, the occult and Christian faith, just from this excerpt. Okay, now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. And what rough beasts its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. Obviously, Bethlehem was the birthplace of what? Jesus Christ. Abi? I think that's what the song say. Yeah. Bethlehem. So, but he's talking about a beast going to be born in Bethlehem, not Jesus Christ. Okay, but all of this is centered around what the second coming of Jesus Christ. So you can see how. And something that is even very interesting is that if you look at the real nitty gritty of most Christian writings, most Christian records, it seems very occultic in nature. Like when you read Revelations, that is just like that feels like an occult like feasting ground, when we talk about the beast of 999, the woman giving birth to the beast and the beast coming to take over earth, then the four horsemen of the apocalypse, you get, then the great plague, then so I feel like instead of it to even be contradictory, they could just be working in close quarters with each other. I feel that is my own understanding, my own opinion, not understanding. So continuing on with the narration, recalling the uncontrollable mystery on the bestial floor of the Magi. This line, remember that we read a line of the Magi in the previous page before we talked about Owen and Michael. There was this collection called the Magi, and we read this line of poems from it. And the final line here is now you even notice that here. Let me read it again. Now, as at all times, I can see in the mind's eye, in the stiff painted clothes, the pale unsatisfied ones appear and disappear in the blue depths of the sky, with all their ancient faces like rain-beaten stones, and all their helms of silver hovering side by side, and all their eyes fixed, hoping to find once more, being by Calvary's turbulence unsatisfied. Calvary is where Jesus went to die. I believe where Jesus was crucified. No. Let me remember it. Is it not Calvary? There's something Jesus did about Calvary, right? And then on the last line, the uncontrollable mystery on the bestial floor. So now the introductory writing is now calling us back to that line, saying recalling the uncontrollable mystery on the bestial floor of the Magi. So the beast coming to be born in Bethlehem is definitely a callback to the uncontrollable mystery on the bestial floor. So like you see the Magi, which is a mage, which is a magician and all of that in charge of the occult, and then we're talking about is appearing also in the second coming. Like those two things you get, I feel like it's now, knowing this background, we can now have fun a bit, pointing out all those things in its works. So continuing on, with his wife, whom he called George, he restored an ancient tower near Ben Bulben, and the tower is another presence in his poetry from now on. Ben Bulben is a place in his hometown. A daughter and a son were born, as his children, and Yeats, who had been made a senator, seemed to be locked into the 60-year-old smiling public man. So he became a senator in his country, which is kind of funny. Like he was so respected and revered. Like his writing, like imagine being a poet and just off of that, just of your contribution in that form, you are you are appointed a senator. Like how senator that is involved in politics, yeah. Like you can see also there are political aspirations. I don't know if he canvassed for the position of the appointment of being a senator, and how, like, when we're talking about this question, to what extent did Yeats control the two sides of the psyche to fulfill his creative and political goals? Maybe he had a political goal to be senator. And how do they know him? What do they know of him? What has been his contribution to public life? His writing, his poetry. Like I hope like that is making sense. The way his life was so full and all of that. So in this poem, Among School Children, he refers to himself as a 60-year-old smiling public man. And then the writer, the introduction goes on to say, but this poignant and passionate poem shows us the fierce emotion and creativity behind the public face. O chestnut tree, this is an excerpt from the poem. O chestnut tree, great-rooted blossomer, are you the leaf, the blossom, or the bowl? O body swayed to music, O brightening glance, how can we know the dancer from the dance? Like how wonderful it is. That is so clear cut. That is so obvious to get. Like he's still trying to let people know that he's not just a figurehead. He's still himself. Continuing on. And in sailing to Byzantium, he expressed the name of title of the poem. He expresses his ideas about the relationship of life to art more profoundly. Life, in quotes, those dying generations, passes beautifully, though it may be. And now the aging poet, he refers to himself as the aging poet, he refers to himself as a paltry thing, a tattered coat upon a stick, has sailed the sea and come to the holy city of Byzantium. For Yeats, the gilded hieratic Byzantine Empire symbolized the perfection of the distanced, crafted, formal art he aspired to, the place where art and spiritual life become one. So you see, more of his spiritual, or more of his creative goals, you know, to make his art a crafted and formal one. He still aspired in this at this point in his life, where he was a 60-year-old senator, just living, passing his life in public eyes. He still aspired, for his art to be crafted and formal, even though his work is now studied as a formal course of study in schools. Like romanticism of Yeats is a thing, is a course, is a study, it's something that is studied in comparative literature. But at this point in his life, at 60 years old, he was still aspiring to make his art crafted and formal. And how would his art be crafted and formal? It is when it comes to the place where art and spiritual life become one. He once wrote, "If I could have a month of antiquity, I would spend it in Byzantium." The age of antiquity, I wonder what that is. Let me check if I'll see it in the dictionary. Antiquity. We will get the meaning of what that age represents. Okay. Antiquity refers to ancient times, especially the times before the Middle Ages. The people, especially the writers of ancient times, that's the second meaning, or the quality or state of being old or ancient. So he was he wanted to go back to the time where you know and again, I think I have to look up, the voices that inspired his writing, like the people he himself, maybe referenced in his work, or people he referenced in his public speaking, or people he referenced in his art, like either ways. He said, "If I could have a month of antiquity, I would spend it in Byzantium." And in Byzantium, like we have an excerpt of that poem here. "Once out of nature, I shall never take Once, okay, let me read it properly. Once out of nature, I shall never take my bodily form from any natural thing, but such a form as Grecian goldsmiths make, of hammered gold and gold enameling, to keep a drowsy emperor awake, or set upon a golden bough to sing." It is interesting. I think at this point, his age, and the depressions of, being an old man or being an old person was all he meditated on. In the later poem Byzantium, the holy city becomes a kind of New Jerusalem, another reference to Bible. There is something they call heaven New Jerusalem in Christian faith. A state of perfected art where the golden cockerel is planted on the starlight golden bough to scorn aloud in metal all complexities of mire and blood. You get, like, to live in a place of, like I said, the depression of being an old man was catching up to him, being an old person was catching up to him, and he's thinking of a life, a world where everything is perfect, and everything is made of changeless metal, and then there is a golden cockerel, not a life who wakes up to signal the beginning of the day or the afternoon. A golden cockerel that, makes noise to mock, to scorn the complexities of mire and of blood. That is humans. Mire is like mud, yeah, and blood. Humans are made up of what? Blood and sand. You get. the religious myth of humans being made out of clay, and we also have blood flowing within us. So mocking his human, like mocking the quality of being a human, being this thing, being flesh, being blood. So the narration goes on. Much of Yeats' later poetry is not easy, but a reader able to give in to the strange mage-like voice will find enormous rewards even from the poems which seem to present difficulties. This is a narrator that has, I'm sure, completed the book telling us that there will be difficulties in his later poems. Me that I don't even know one thing. Hey, God. He can put on many masks. He can reflect on his troubled nation. He can salute his wife, which he refers to as the Sheba of some poems, his daughter, his son. He rails against age, like I said. He calls it this absurdity, this caricature, decrepit age that has been tied to me as to a dog's tail. Throughout his work, he can appear as the bard, the politician, the lover, the romantic reactionary, wherein he's wishing for his daughter a husband who will bring her to a house where all is accustomed and ceremonious, and flirting with fascism during the 30s. Like I said, he flirted with fascism. He kind of considered fascism as a way of thought, as a way of, like, wanted to buy into it, but flirting, it does not go anywhere. He dumps it eventually. But throughout, there is wholeness. He recognized that love, that is one of his lines, he recognized that love has pitched his mansion in the place of excrement, that death and life were not, till man made up the whole. That out of all the anger and squabbling of Irish politics, a terrible beauty is born. Which, when we've journeyed all through his life up to this point now, does that not make sense? Kind of makes sense. There is a reference to love, his one true love mold, that never ever accepted him in his lifetime. The daughter also rejected him, and he's also his love for Ireland while also resenting the same country. You get, all of that comes together to be whole. His masks he put up, and from what this person is saying, this narrator is saying, there are more masks that he creates. So we have to be aware. Last week when we started reading the rules, when we started the section on the collection, the rules, remember that I said in the starting point, I said this is dedicated to Lionel Johnson. Will you believe that Lionel Johnson is not a real person? Lionel Johnson is also a mask. Why didn't you know that then? I thought it was a real person. So we have to prepare ourselves as we're reading to recognize the masks, and we have to ask ourselves when we're reading what this mask represent. Why? What is this mask doing here? What is this person in this world? You get other things that instead of just paying attention to what the poem is saying, we can pay attention to who this poem is talking about or what this person in the poem is doing. But all of it is a very nice summary because it ends with the squabbling of Irish politics. It ends with a terrible beauty is born. Yeats died on 28th January 1939 in France. His body was brought back to Ireland in 1948 to be buried in his chosen place under Ben Bulben with his own epitaph. So he wrote his whatever, the thing that will be put on his gravestone. He says, "Cast a cold eye on life, on death, horseman pass by." So right after I talked about the horseman, the four horsemen of the apocalypse, there was one of those horsemen is the horseman of death and something death and plague or something like that. So I think that's a reference to this here. And he's saying, cast a cold eye on life, on death, horseman pass by. So it's somebody that is not really seeing death as the end. Yes, somebody that believes in the reincarnation, obviously he doesn't consider death to be an ending, which is my own stance too on death. I don't see death as an ending. I see it as a continuation, like a command. Keep on going. You get. So far, like, I think that was fun. I think Yeats lived a very, very interesting life. I think it was interesting because no matter what, he was himself, unapologetically. Even though that self he was not something he fully understood. He didn't repress any aspect of it. His one-sided love affair with Maud was public knowledge, okay? And even if both of them were public figures, he didn't stop anything. even though his own beliefs were public knowledge, he didn't stop anything. He still loved fully, even though he got his heart broken and she never ever accepted him. So he looks like, and then he married Georgie, and for whatever for he allowed the connection between him, Georgie, and himself, to bloom, into something that. And how else do you get, like, one cool thing about this whole thing I want to talk about is how, everybody's always like, oh, I don't want to miss the one, the one true love, the one true love. And he keeps on writing about Maud. She never goes away truly in his works. But he also starts writing about his wife, because eventually he came down and he allowed himself to love his wife in his own way. Okay, obviously the love he has for God will never be the same as the love he has for his wife, but he loved his wife nonetheless. And after him and his wife were able to connect through what his art, which is very beautiful, because I don't see any point where Maud was able to connect with him through the one thing that was really defining of his personality, which was his poetry. But he had a wife, he married a woman who was able to connect with him through that. And I'm sure he now began to develop this deep affection for her, because they went on to have 2 children. You get, like, I don't think it was a loveless marriage. And I don't think, at first when I read that line, I was like, did he settle for this woman? But I don't think it was that kind of loveless connection. It was a deep connection, in the sense like they are connected through what his art. And she too, she connected with him through her automatic writing. You get, like, she even got tired to the extent so, like, we can't do this every day. But eventually they're able to, because when he now started writing the vision, so he now gave her space. Like, they did not have those intense moments of automatic writing anymore. You get, like, when they first started or when they first discovered it together. So, like, his life was very, very his own, even to up to the very end. All his resentment, all his grudge, he expressed it truly and fully. He did not let, like, there was nothing, that he did not try, in that sense, in his works, through his works. Yeah, he even became a senator in a country where he, as a young person, he did not appreciate it as much. So that is the main thing that I felt so excited to share on stream today. The history and life of Yeats. Of course, this is very, 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 very surface level. It does not. It's not so in depth. If you go on Wikipedia, you see tons and tons of references and articles and all of that will take it even more deeper aspects of his life, especially when it came to writing his essays and all of that. Hello, Yusuf. Welcome to the stream. Good afternoon. Um, Yusuf, are you just joining us? Oh, Yusuf, you missed yesterday's stream where we actually did mass. Today we're talking about poetry, and we just read. I just went through the history of these poets that that I've been reading for a while on the channel. Yeats, William Yeats, and then I talked about his life a lot, different things about his life, and I've been talking about it for a while now. I don't know if you just joined the stream, but you missed that. So maybe if you replay the live stream again, you can watch it again and then leave your ideas and your comments and your thoughts on the things that I talked about on the stream. That's also available to you. For now, I wanted to ask. I started around 11. Did I not say it that day? I start my streams 11, few minutes after 11 a.m. You can watch yesterday's stream. It's on my channel. You can watch it. You see where I made mistakes and I corrected myself and the things I'm not really familiar with there. You can watch yesterday's stream. You can also make comments and suggestions, of what you might want to try with me on stream. So we just got through the very exciting, rich life of these poets of today's collection. William Yeats, William Butler Yeats, and his life was very a full one. I even had notes like that we went through. We talked about his leanings in the occult and his leanings in the Christian faith. We talked about his love life where he had this massive crush, not call it crush, this love he had for one woman, and she rejected him so much that after finally asking her again at um 50 something years old, even through yesterday I was very busy because something came up. It's okay, it's okay. You can always catch a replay, on my channel. It's there, it's available to you. um yeah. And on Saturdays I also have streaming on Saturdays. So, and on Saturdays I might the way light is going, we might not have light on Saturday, but you can join us on Saturday. Maybe on Saturday I can do a small mathematics moment for your sake or something, if you want, if you'd like to join. Maybe you'll not be busy that day, but it depends on your schedule. Either ways, my replay, you can always replay on my channel. Like you can go back, watch yesterday's stream, see what I did and how I did it and the things I went through. I don't know, since we have a little bit of time, let me read a poem. Continue from continue from where we stopped. So if you have anything to share with me about um where did I stop? Man Road. So currently we're in this collection called The Rose, and we have The Rose is dedicated to Lionel Johnson. And like we said earlier in the history of Yeats, you have to understand that Yeats, created this personae. Um, the two major ones, Michael and Owen, and they represented two aspects of his identity, which is the aspect of the identity that leans towards Christian faith, and the aspect of the identity that leans towards the occult, magic, supernatural stuff. You get, and he was very serious about those two aspects. Yeah. So, but the rose is based upon Rosicrucianism. That is the rose in the cross. So, cross again is also religious themes. Let me see. I wrote something on it. The Rosicrucian symbolism of the Golden Dawn. Now you have to understand that the Golden Dawn was, from what I can get now, maybe I'll still look it up after all of this. The Golden Dawn is like a secret society that he is in charge of somewhat, that he created. And so the symbolism of the rose is coming from that image he created for his secret society. And he's dedicated to Lionel Johnson. Lionel Johnson is just a persona he made up. So last week we read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 poems in this collection, and they were interesting poems. One was about the myth of Cuchulainn, and then the myth of King Fergus. Then we read about the Rose of the World, the Rose of Peace, you know. And most of the time, like last week when we were reading about the Rose of the World and we're reading about the Rose of Peace. Hello Raji, hello. Oh, Raji, you've not been on the stream. Oh, you've missed. I'm about to read but you can always watch the replay. Don't worry, you cannot miss anything on this channel. You can always watch the replay, leave your commentary. I will respond to them. Just comment it as normal comment on that YouTube video and I'll respond. Don't worry about it. Don't feel so much pressure, okay? So now I want to read a poem. Since we've gone through his life and times, that is William Yeats, I want to read a poem, one of his poems, maybe one or two poems. But now we have to read the background of the knowledge of a turbulent. I don't think you see the messages they sent to you. Which messages on live chat? I would see comments, okay, on videos, but if you're talking about live chat commentary while I was speaking, I don't think I saw any past that last one you sent about the church and all of that. I don't know. My network is kind of just falling my hand here. I don't know what to do about that. I guess just have to keep coping until I get a better, where I get money. I'll buy data for Airtel and try it. Maybe to be better than this MTN nonsense. But if you sent me messages all through our discussion, I'm so sorry. I did not see anything, past the last one. I'm only recently seeing Yusuf's messages and it just came up now. So I don't know. I don't know how else. I think I'll just have to try loading card on my Airtel line when I'm buoyant. So last week we were talking about most of the things in the rules. It's about war. This collection of the rules was just war. Fighting battles, peace. A desire for peace and all of that. Now it makes sense because he was writing this king. I can see the messages, Raji. Now, king. Maybe the messages will start loading now. Maybe the glitch has caught up with the live chat, or the live chat has caught up with the messages or something. I don't know. Oh my god. I'm so sorry for all that silence and whatever. I just did not see the messages. I'm just seeing them now. Don't don't be angry, please. It's just MTN's fault is what I'll say. But maybe from next week I'll try to load on my Airtel, I'll load on my Airtel. So we'll see how Airtel goes because MTN is not doing anything for me. MTN is really messing up my flow. And if I do the replay of the live, I'll definitely see your messages. So sorry for all the glitches and technical malfunctioning. This is what I'm able to do right now. So maybe I should wait for the messages to catch up. I wanted to read one poem before, like since we still have a little bit of time. Huh? Just imagining all the people that were sending me messages now. I feel bad for all of you. I'm so sorry, but the network issue in this country is kind of, insane. Mm, Maybe as I read along, the messages will start popping up. Hopefully. And I was saying that last week poems were mostly war based, battle fighting, and it makes sense now because his history, that he was growing up through Irish stressing. Like there was a lot of confusion in the country. Like the country was on E, it was not stable at the time because some people wanted to come out from under British rule, and some people did not mind being under British rule. Maybe I should refresh my own network. Like I should switch it off and on. Maybe it will perform properly. And sometimes Yeats wished for peace in his country. So when we read the Rose of Peace last week, it makes sense that he was thinking about how, um, and then he was now saying that when he said the Rose of Peace, and he said if God looked down on you, or if Michael the Archangel looked down on you. Now I know you refers to Maud. Kind of, I think that's who you represent in this poem because Maud is the focus of all his affections and everything and all the love in his heart. Maybe I should work on my network. So you can send me a message again. Maybe I'll let's see if it is not glitching as much. I think even worse than the messages, I just hope no part of the stream was lost to your view. Like you were not able to watch me anymore, listen to me anymore. That would be very painful. Because at least you can replay, you can replay the live or something. But like if you did not see what I was saying, that was very weird. So let's read this one poem, and however, I'll just chalk it up that this stream was just affected by technical difficulties, and hopefully tomorrow will be better. But let's read this poem now. The Rose of Battle. Rose of all roses, rose of all the world, the tall, thought-woven sails that flap unfurled above the tide of ours trouble the air, and God's bell buoyed to be the water's care, while hushed from fear or loud with hope, a band with blown spray dabbled hair gathered at hand. Turn, if you may, from battles never done, I call as they go by me one by one. Danger no refuge holds, and war no peace, for him who hears love sing and never cease. Beside her clean-swept hurts, a quiet shade, but gather all for whom no love hath made, a woven silence, all, but came to cast a song into the air, and singing past, to smile down on the pale dawn, and gather you who have sought more than is in rain or dew, or in the sun and moon, or on the earth, or sighs amid the wandering starry mirth, or comes in laughter from the sea's sad lips, and wage God's battles in the long grey ships, the sad, the lonely, the insatiable. To these old nights shall all her mystery tell. God's bell has claimed them by the little cry of their sad hearts that may not live nor die. Rose of all roses, rose of all the world, you too have come where the dim tides are hurled upon the wharves of sorrow, and heard ring the bell that calls us on, the sweet far thing. Beauty, grown sad with its eternity, made you of us, and of the dim grey sea. Our long ships lose thought-woven sails and wait, for God has bid them share an equal fate. And when at last defeated in his wars, they have gone down under the same white stars, we shall no longer hear the little cry of our sad hearts that may not live nor die. Hello, Hello, Gaurav. Your name is Gaurav, right? You're from yesterday's stream. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am reading a poetry from this collection of poems by William Yeats. And I just completed this one. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining me. They're like 1 hour plus late. Because today was very interesting. Like we went through the history and all of that of this author, and it was fun. But you can always watch the replay, and see it. I think so. My internet glitched yesterday as well. Yeah, Raja, I'm so sorry. I'm not seeing. I did not see enter. You know that last message of yours where you said, do you have a church in your neighborhood? That was the last thing I saw. I did not see any messages after that. Not one message. But since you've been sending it in, I'll go through it in the replay and take note of them. I just have to try Airtel at this point. Like, why am I wasting my energy with MTN? I noticed time you when he sent that message that you just saw now, was he here longer than that? Yes, Gaurav, I stream every day at 11 a.m. But since India is 4 hours ahead of us, I think that would be 3 p.m. for you guys. I think 3 p.m. for you in India. I was just trying to call your attention. Yeah, thank you, Raji, but I didn't see anything. Even when I was like waiting a bit to like hear back or something, like response or something, I did not see. I just have to try Airtel now. Like, that's just the only option for me, to be honest. Because this MTN is not doing me any good. So I have to wait it out. Maybe next week, if I get, some kind of extra cash, then I'll be able to get data for my Airtel. The weather is very calm. The weather is cool. It's not stuffy. It's okay. It's a chill weather. That will be worse. No. I feel this corner that I'm doing the streaming at. I think that is one of the issues for my MTN. This corner, I think this corner, especially this place I've placed my phone at, is not getting service well. Exactly, location. Airtel works perfectly fine, and Airtel might not be angry about this spot I put my phone in, but MTN barely. Like, whenever I want to start my live stream, once I start it, like if I just put it in this position where it is staying and wait, it might not come live until I bring it closer to me. Then it will go live and I'll put it back. Then it will keep on, dragging network somehow. But halfway it will now glitch as if the network is not really coming from this corner of the house here. So maybe I think Airtel does not have any bias towards areas of my house. But before I buy it, I'll test it with like maybe 500 naira Airtel. Then I'll test if this place is not affected by my stream. I'll just do a small stream and do it with like maybe 500 naira Airtel and see how it goes. Because I don't know why MTN is being very, very annoying. There was also a point in the stream where it went completely off and I had to try again before it came back, and then it glitched again. And I'll test run Airtel, like some horror stories. I don't have horror stories in book form. Do I? Oh, I think I might have one. If I do, I'll probably try to read it tomorrow. Although we already have a book we're reading tomorrow, Tomorrow we're reading a book tomorrow. Like, tomorrow we're reading a book tomorrow. Tomorrow we're reading this book called Family. We started it last week. So we'll continue it tomorrow. And after we're done with a few chapters, maybe I can bring out my horror book. Yeah, I have a story. We're reading a story together on stream tomorrow, titled Family. You join it, you have fun with us. Well, test run Ethel. Maybe this evening I might just run it. Just running for same here. I like horror stories. I like horror movies. Do you know the side where one can download the poetry? Before I even got this book, there is this after I got this book, when I went to check for his works online, I think it's just Google, you would see a free copy of it. But if I'll check it and I'll send it to you through your mail. Okay, I'll send a link. Maybe if I find a link, I'll send the link to you through your mail. There are several movies out now, but for this year, like, I can't even begin to count the number of horror stories I enjoy. But this year, I really enjoyed watching Sinners. Have you seen Sinners? One of the most popular horror movies out now. Have you seen Sinners? I watched Weapons. Weapons was also horrific, but it was kind of disappointing towards the end. I don't know, it was more. There's something I like about horror movies when they are situations out of your control, something that you can't do anything about. Ahead of Sinners, go and look for it fast. If you're a fan of horror movies, you have to watch Sinners. Go and watch it. Then come and tell me how it feels tomorrow. Tell me what you learned. Tell me how you enjoyed it tomorrow, okay? So I'm going to come on stream tomorrow. If not coming on stream, I'll let you know on my community page. I like exorcism movies too. I like exorcism movies, but it's only few of them that are interesting. But I've not seen this one, exorcism of Emily Rose. Tomorrow I'll be on stream 11 a.m. Nigerian time. So I don't know how. I think you guys are 4 hours ahead of us or 5 hours ahead of us. So that'll be you guys like maybe 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. I just calculate it. 11 a.m. in Nigerian time. What time is it in India? And that's when I'll be online. So Raji, I'm going to send you a link by mail at 3 p.m. At 3 p.m. It's not 11 a.m. Oh, tomorrow. Okay. Don't worry. I'm here all week, so you can check in, and then you can also watch replays of my stream. What school do you go to? Is it a university? Don't worry. I'll look for it myself. I'll send it to you on email. Okay. Don't worry. I'll try to find it today and send it to you. At least this Yeats poetry. No, no, Gaurav, I don't have Instagram. I even tried to download yesterday. The issue I have with Instagram now is that my network does not open on Instagram. I don't know why. I'm tired. 15? This video. 15, okay. Okay. So it's a good thing that we do a lot of studying in this place, in this stream. Like you can learn a lot of things being on stream here with us. But I don't know if you guys at 15 be able to watch Sinners. Sinners is meant for mature audiences, so you might not be able to watch Sinners. But most horror movies are meant for mature audiences. They're not really made for kids. For some, maybe you can't stomach it. Maybe you'll be able to watch it. I don't know. If your parents will allow you to watch it, then no problem. What else? So let me think of a friendly horror movie. All of the horror movies are very gory. Like most of the horror movies I watch are pretty gory. But there's this one, Insidious. I don't know. I can't chat on my mobile streaming, but you can watch Insidious. Very, very true. Oh my God. Yes. I agree with this. Teachers can be very scary than ghosts. Oh my God. Why did I think that? Of course. I think where I saw the most, like the scariest teacher that I've ever met in my life was when I was a child in primary school. I was not scared of my secondary school teachers. Like when I was 15, I was not scared of my teachers at all. But secondary, like primary school, all my teachers, I think it's only one teacher I had in primary school that was actually very kind to me. But the other teachers, they were so wicked. And I was like, just how am I mocking you? Teachers are scarier than ghosts, though. Let me just tell you now. So you did not have scary teachers, Raji, in secondary school or primary school? You did not have. Let me now welcome you to my world. My world, we had scary teachers. Like in primary school, there's one teacher that we used to call, you are so lucky. One teacher we used to call in primary school, we used to call her, Raji, this guy is talking to you. Gaurav is talking to you. There's one scary child we had in primary school. We used to call her Auntie Meme. That was not her name. Oh. That was not her name at all. But we call her Auntie Meme because she knows how to make children cry. And you know that meme is this thing that we used to do for children. If you want them to cry, you do like this. When you do like this for children, that's like meh. Like it used to make children cry. Even me used to make me cry a lot. But we used to call her that name because she was so mean. She was so mean. I don't even remember her real name anymore, but guys, suffered under her hand. She made my life hell. And she did not even teach me. Oh. She was just in charge of like school activities. I mean, I used to do a lot of school activities when I was a child. I used to do all this cultural dance, plays for school, theater, and all of that. Okay, yeah, Japanese horror. There's one Japanese horror movie that I cannot watch. Oh, right, you know. But you know the feeling of abandonment is kind of like its own brand of horror. There are horror movies set around abandonment. Yeah. Love is always abundant around you. Don't worry. Love is always like abundant around you. And that's what I used to say too. I used to say it a lot on the stream that you are never alone. Even if you feel even if you can't see anybody around, even in your mind or whatever, that is a lie. You are never alone. Um, Japanese horror movie too is very scary. Yeah, like this horror movie that is very popular, The Grudge. There's a Japanese version of it that she's coming out of the well, with her hair, or she's coming out of the TV with her hair, water everywhere. I can't watch the Japanese version of it. I think I watched the American version of that movie. I think that's what they call The Grudge or something. So the story about that girl, she was abandoned. She was mistreated, and she was like they kind of made her like an outcast, because they said she had some kind of evil spirit or whatnot. You get evil spirit and whatnot. So they left her for, so she started haunting people. She started following movie CDs, classic. Yeah. So there's another horror movie about abandonment, like the idea that you think like because somebody is not there, so that means the person is invincible, or the person is not there, which is a lie. Like all these things will always follow us, you get. So I don't know if that is making sense, but the feeling of abandonment is just an illusion. It's an illusion, and it's kind of illusion that is rooted in reality, so you cannot really tell the difference, but you can walk through it. You can walk through it. The memory of the child hurts, and I can relate it to, not portrayed by the teachers. If only they know that we are in a strange world. Yeah, exactly. Like childhood memories hurt so bad. You'll never forget the pain, the trauma of it all. You can't. Popular goes from our country, Gaurav. Now, there's this movie that I watched as a child. I don't know, right, if you know this actress, Regina Asker, that she was this, and then there's this horror movie called like Snake Girl, Ineka the Snake or something like that. All those movies, like we have a lot of horror movies attached to women and being, connected to the moon, and then using the moon to destroy people's lives. And then there's stories of, you remember it, have you? There's stories of women connected to snakes or turning into snake and eating people up. Like we have a lot of them. There's masquerade story. You know what this masquerade is like? If you check up masquerade in Nigeria, all those people that used to don on these big decorations on their body, boy, scary. Like there are plenty Yoruba movies around about masquerade, which I cannot even watch by myself, to be honest, because when Yoruba people make scary movies about like masquerade or mad people, full moon. Exactly. I have to watch that movie again. In fact, that's what I'm going to do for the rest of the day. I'm going to watch. I'm going to look for that movie, Full Moon. Oh, you have the same type of ghosts to your country, snake and moon and masquerade, Abby. There's also some kind of horror movie attached to like very mentally disabled people, like people that have lost touch with reality completely. Those ones used to scare me. There's one Papa Ajasko episode, I don't know if you remember it, if you watch it, Raji, where Miss Pepper was going out, yeah, and she was, you know, where Miss Pepper used to do now, Snake Lady, Najin. Do you know that my parents watched Najin? My parents watch Najin. Oh my god, the influence of Indian movies on Nigeria, like we are like this. Nigerians and Indian movies were like this. So that Najin, we watched it. I think I've seen it. So my parents watched it. Ah, we know it. We know it. We know it. Very like two of us are like this. Indian movies and Nigerians very very closely tied. Full Moon was fun. I loved it. It was scary, but now I think about it, it was not so scary. But as a child, I was scared. Yeah, you watch it, Aviraj. My parents watched it. Oh, half woman and half snake. Ah, God. This is so fun. This is such a fun moment for me. My parents watched Najina. I remember we watched it. I think I watched it. I've watched it. I've seen it. But it's like very old. Very old. Classic Bollywood is not the same as class. It's not, you know, classic Bollywood is no more like the movies they are making in your time now. It's not the same the movies they made in those days. Like those movies, 3 hours long movies with lots and lot of storytelling in between. And I like the thing I love the most about like Bollywood movies is all of the dancing going on. Even when it's something serious going on, like the dancing is also telling a story. Serious. Wow, flute music. Oh, that's so cool. Maybe I'll watch it again. I want to do everything today. Wait. I need to write it down. I don't want to forget. Najina, Full Moon, and Ineka, the snake girl. Full Moon and Ineka, the snake girl. Najin and Anjina with Shola were watched too. Is Shola a horror movie? Raji. You used to watch horror. You're not scared of horror movie, yeah? Ineka the snake. Ineka the green snake. Her name is, I think her name is like, I think this was the green snake. But like Raji, you're not scared of horror movies, Abby? So okay, it's an Indian movie. After you're saying the name, I think I know it too. I'll check it. I have one source of pirated movies I used to watch. Any movie I want to watch, I'll find it there. You're not scared of horror movie? Wow. Have you seen this movie, Smile? I don't know if Gaurav can see Smile. Smile is very... Gaurav, have you seen Smile? Smile is horrific. Yeah, they are old. Yeah, they are old movies. But Raji, maybe you should check out Smile. Smile is present day, is modern, but the horror of it all. The horror of it all. You can also watch Munja. It's a comedy horror movie. Okay, let's see. I'll check it out. You have? What do you think of it? No, not a short story. Smile is a horror movie, Gaurav. It's a horror movie and it's so tragic and sad. And oh my god. What did you think of the movie, Raj? I want to hear your thoughts. Gaurav, you should watch Smile. It's very, very scary. Oh, it's an American movie, so neutral ground for all of us here. It's not short. It's like normal hour length movie. You get horror. It's horror. Watch it. Tell me what you think about it. Whenever you come on stream, whenever you catch our streaming moments, you can talk about it with me. Smile is short. No, it's not short stories. It's normal long movie. Horror. Bad horror movie. What did you think about it? I'm curious. So that movie made me cry. And I don't used to cry for horror movies, because I know what I'm expecting, like the horror movie. I know what I'm expecting, but the horror, the sadness of it all, This guy, girl. How bad are your teachers? How bad are your teachers? I need to know how bad your teachers are actually. Is it that the way they teach you is scary, or like the things that they do to you is scary? Like, how bad are your teachers? And you know the thing about scary teachers, your parents will not even believe you about them sometimes. Your parents will not support you. When you are crying that, oh, my teacher is wicked or my teacher is bad, they'll be like, can't be that bad. They will not believe you. Not that much. But we have a father. Is it like a Catholic school? What do you mean by father? Christian father. So you attend a Catholic school. The things I've heard about people in Catholic school. Is it an all boys school or it's a mixture of school? Wow. Is it co-ed, like boys and girls, or only boys in your school? Catholic. Yeah. The things I've heard about Catholic school. Hey, scary. But like, and they are very strict, Abby. Like very strict. I wonder what kind of punishments they used to give you guys. But wait, if you are going to a Catholic school, are you guys Christians in your family, or you're just attending a Catholic school? Which church has been following me so far? That's very interesting. Are you Christians, Gorav, or you're Hindus? Okay, but you can attend Catholic schools. That's cool. That's cool. But like, what kind of punishments they used to give in your school? Like, what kind of punishment did they make sure you guys experience, and why? Like, for example, tell me something you do that is against the rules, and type of punishment that they'll give you for that. Let me hear what is going to happen now. Brum, brum. Yeah, we have head boys and head girls. Yes. We have head boys and head girls in our school. We have all prefects. We have chaplain. We have food prefects. We have nothing. Then why are you scared of them? I think it's like, if that's the case, then you need to be courageous. You need to be courageous. Like, how will I encourage you now? You need to see them as human beings, okay? At the end of the day, why? Oh, sorry. The way Catholic schools work, actually, serious, you're a minister. And what is a minister's job? If you're a minister, so what is scary about your father? Because obviously you probably behave like well for them to appoint you as a minister. Abi, yes, you behave good, so they appointed you as a minister. So why would you be scared of them? I think it's all in your, like, you need to, it's not all in your mind, child. Maybe there's an energy they give you. Wow, that is very, very. Send Gorav thumbs up in the chat, because he deserves to, like, being a head boy at 15. That's cool. That's cool. So that means you soon write your final exams, yeah? Like, you still have 1 year to go, Abby, in school. 1 year. Like, you're still, is it 1 or 2 years left for your studies in secondary school? Dun, 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 dun. 1 year. Congratulations. I hope your studies go well. 2 years. Oh, 2 years. Okay. I hope your studies go well, man. Like I really hope you are able to, um follow up your studies so well that if you're a head boy, that means you're actually good in your studies. So tell me why you're scared of your father. I think the way I will encourage you is that maybe it's just a fear of authority, maybe a fear of power, and all those things, they're not real. Like they're not really, it's not like they're not real, that your feelings are not valid. Your feelings are very valid. Okay, your feelings are very valid, and so far you are doing a good job of school. You are a head boy, and that's very, very good. It's good on you to have that position. So but this idea of fear, do you get, it's something that you can start to encourage yourself about. That first of all, they are human beings. Okay, there was a time to me I was very scared of my pastor. I was scared of him. I was so scared of him, so scared of him, because like whenever he spoke to me, I felt as if God was judging me, and I'll feel like crying. My heart would be heavy, and I'll be like, "Oh God, forgive me! I don't want my pastor to talk to me again." Like I'll feel bad about it, like But you are not even a Christian. Me, I was a Christian, so I think one day I just yeah, okay, they are scared of you, and you're not scared of horror movies. So what, you're some kind of, what do you call it, super saiyan high schooler. Why would they be scared of you? About to embark on a world tour, global pop sensation Sky Riley begins experiencing a incredibly terrifying event. Overwhelmed by the escalating horrors and pressures of fame, Sky, Gaurav, you are funny. Sky is forced to face her past. This thing you are saying is smile part. Oh, which movie is this? What movie is this, Raj? If everybody is scared of you, and you're not scared of horror film, what kind of student are you? Gaurav. Are you a? I hope you're a head boy, so that means you're a good student in the eyes of the student body. You're a good student. So hey, anyways, just watch Smile, Gaurav, and tell me what you think, okay? I want to hear from somebody that is not scared of anybody. What you think about Smile? Forced to face her past. Smile 1 and 2. I've not seen Smile 2 because I was so angry after watching Smile 1. I refused to see Smile 2. Thank you very much. It was too sad. Strict discipline master. You are big Gora, you are a strict discipline master. Go and watch Smile. Country USA, Canada. Okay. I'm not watching Smile 2. It's too scary. Yeah, it's too scary. Too scary. The things I went through, the emotions I felt watching Smile 1, I'm not forgiving them for that, for putting me through that. I will not go watch Smile 2. I was too sad after watching that Smile 1. Like I could not take it. I was angry to, like, why did they make me sad? Why would you do that to me? I was so sad, and horror movies don't usually make me sad. They just make me feel like, wow, oh, this happened. But this one made me sad, so sad, because it was enforcing this idea that you cannot get out of your mental struggles, like when you have like serious mental health challenges. Is this type of story that builds Baby Farm? I sure have not watched it. Baby Farm, is it not the one that the boy was dumped from, is like an alien, and eventually he tries to kill his parents after they've adopted him, like something like Superman, but it was evil? Is it on Netflix? If it's on Netflix, horror movies on Netflix, I think I've seen most of them. Raja, have you seen Weapons? It also exploded. How did it make you feel? It's fine. Okay, okay, watch it, let me hear. Nigerian movie. Okay, I remember this Baby Farm. It's not the one that those women were stealing something from a woman's body. No, I don't want to watch it. Oh, please. That one is too much body horror. Body horror used to scare me. Like, and again, it's Nigerian. I start feeling too much empathy for the characters. Like, it start making me feel like, oh, what if it's me? You know, too scary. I rather watch horror movies of foreign human beings, like foreign people, so that I can keep a distance between myself and the characters. Baby fam, I think it's that story of that those women, Kawasaki Onna. Is that a is that a horror movie, Japanese horror movie? Let me write it down. All these movies they are recommending to me, I might not see it on my source, Sha. That's the only issue. I might not be able to find it, but I'll check it out. Kawasaki Onna. Let me see. Urban legend. No, I've not heard of it. Onna implies a woman now. Onna. Onna. Urban legends too. I don't keep up with them, but sometimes on YouTube I used to see some interesting videos about urban legends. But that baby farm is too scary, Raji. I don't think I can watch it. Sorry. I want to put a distance between my body and the body of the characters I'm watching. Like, stay far from me. Urban legends. The only the no no. I only okay if I want to watch it, bro. I'll watch it like maybe like halfway. If I start to cry or feel bad, I'll stop it. I can only promise that. If I watch it and I cry like maybe once, twice, I'll stop it. I don't want to cry. Please. Ugh, just thinking about it is scary. I'll try to watch it. But I don't promise to finish it. That's my own issue. I don't promise to finish it today or in the first watch. Maybe I'll finish it after like 2 watches or 3 watches. Okay, so I've stayed over time and I'm going to end the stream here. Thank you so much for being with me, for bearing with me with all the technical glitches, and subscribe. Yeah, I still study, self-study. I'm no longer in school anymore, but I still self-study. That's what I'm doing on stream. Sometimes I do maths, I do reading, literature, poetry. I do it on stream, but I self-study. Raji, I've heard I'll try my best, but I can't promise you anything. If I do it, if I watch half of it and I see that I can finish, I'll tell you. But if I can't finish it, if I can get only two episodes or 3 episodes, just thank God for that. That'll be where I end it until maybe next year. I'll start it again. Watching movies for me, unless I have like serious incentive, maybe. Thank you, Gorav. Thank you. Bye bye. Bye bye. Unless I have serious incentive to watch it, but if I don't have any incentive, I'll take my time watching movies. But anyways, thank you. I'll continue the conversation in our next stream. Subscribe. Yeah, okay. Let me write it down. Poetry link. Alright. I'll send the link. Okay. Bye bye.